In the heart of the Wild West, tales of the one-eyed outlaw sent shivers through townsfolk and inspired whispers among cowboys. His name was Jed Hawthorne, a rugged man known for his swift draw and unmatched cunning. Jed wore a wide-brimmed hat that shaded his haunting gaze, a stark reminder of the daring robbery that changed his life forever. Years ago, during a bold heist at a bank in Silver Creek, chaos erupted. Bullets flew like summer storms, and in the frenzy, Jed faced off against a nervous deputy. Just as he reached for the bag of gold, the deputy panicked and fired. In that split second, it all changed. Jed lost his right eye but gained a fierce reputation as both a bandit and a legend. Despite his gruff exterior, there was something magnetic about him. He had a soft heart for those in need and always shared what he stole with the less fortunate in nearby towns. Stories circulated about his bravery, a blend of mischief and a rough sense of justice that defined who he was. More than just an outlaw, Jed embodied freedom, rebellion, and danger, making him an unforgettable figure in this rugged land where legends were born. The Wild West was a land of contrasts, where the beauty of nature met the harshness of survival. Dusty towns dotted the arid landscape, each one a mix of weathered wooden buildings and bustling saloons. The sun beat down relentlessly, casting long shadows across the parched earth. In the distance, jagged mountains loomed, their peaks touching the azure sky while rocky outcrops and cacti punctuated the vast deserts below. Travelers would often find themselves in small communities like Dry Gulch or Coyote Crossing, where rumors of outlaws and hidden treasures filled the air. The narrow streets were alive with the sounds of horses' hooves clattering on cobblestones and laughter echoing from saloons as cowboys swapped stories over shots of whiskey. Yet beneath this lively atmosphere lay an ever-present tension. Lawmen worked tirelessly to maintain order, while outlaws like Jed Hawthorne thrived in the shadows. The open desert stretched endlessly beyond the towns, a world of sand dunes and sagebrush that held secrets waiting to be uncovered. It was here that Jed roamed freely, riding his trusty horse through sun-bleached canyons and across winding trails, living a life colored by adventure and danger against this rugged backdrop that defined his fate. Jed Hawthorne's gang was as colorful and fierce as the Wild West itself. Each member brought unique skills and personalities, making them a force to be reckoned with. First was Quick Draw Annie, a sharpshooter known for her incredible aim and quick reflexes. With her fiery spirit and knack for trouble, she could disarm anyone in seconds, earning the respect of her fellow outlaws. Next was Silent Sam, a quiet but incredibly stealthy scout. He could slip through the shadows without making a sound, gathering valuable information about lawmen and rival gangs. His keen eyes missed nothing, ensuring the gang always stayed one step ahead of danger. Then there was Big Hank, a burly man with a heart of gold. His strength made him the muscle of the group, able to lift heavy loads and intimidate foes with just his presence. Despite his tough exterior, he had a soft spot for children and often helped those in need around town. Finally, there was Sly Jake, the brains of the operation, always plotting the next heist or escape route. His clever strategies kept the gang safe during their escapades. Together, these loyal outlaws formed an unbreakable bond, committed to each other and their wild way of life under Jed's leadership. In the saloons and dusty streets of nearby towns, tales of Jed Hawthorne's daring exploits spread like wildfire. Locals whispered about his legendary defiance against the law, viewing him as a symbol of freedom in a world bound by rules. Stories of his audacious robberies and narrow escapes filled the air, igniting imaginations and creating a sense of admiration for the one-eyed outlaw. One evening, an old rancher shared how he witnessed Jed single-handedly outsmart a posse of lawmen in a thrilling chase across the plains. The rancher described how Jed rode like the wind, darting through canyons and leaping over ravines, laughing in the face of danger. His clever tactics and bravery inspired awe. Many saw him as more than just a criminal. He was a hero standing up against oppression. As the tales grew bolder, so did the tension between lawmen and those who idolized Jed. Supporters saw him as a champion of the downtrodden, while lawmen viewed him as a menace that needed to be stopped. This growing divide fueled the legend of Jed Hawthorne, setting the stage for an inevitable confrontation that would define his fate and leave an indelible mark on the Wild West's history. The atmosphere in Dry Gulch turned tense as Sheriff Bill Thornton and his posse rode into town, their arrival sending a ripple of dread among the locals. Known for his ruthless methods and unyielding pursuit of justice, Sheriff Thornton had made it his mission to capture Jed Hawthorne once and for all. His reputation as a relentless lawman preceded him, and whispers of his intentions spread like wildfire through the saloons and streets. Gathering in the town square, the sheriff stood tall, eyes scanning the crowd for any sign of the one-eyed outlaw. "I've heard enough tales," he barked, his voice booming over the silence. "That bandit may be clever, but I'll bring him to justice. Everyone here will help, whether you like it or not." The townsfolk exchanged anxious glances, torn between their admiration for Jed and fear of the sheriff's wrath. Meanwhile, Jed and his loyal gang kept a close watch from the shadows. They knew the sheriff's reputation well and understood that a showdown was inevitable. As the days passed, tension built like a storm cloud above Dry Gulch. With every moment, the stakes rose higher, fueling excitement and fear as everyone braced for what would become an unforgettable confrontation in the heart of the Wild West. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across Dry Gulch, Jed Hawthorne pondered his fate. With Sheriff Thornton rallying the townsfolk against him, Jed found himself at a crossroad. Should he gather his gang and flee into the vast desert, abandoning his legacy, or stand firm to protect those who had stood by him through thick and thin? The thought of leaving his friends behind gnawed at him painfully. Jed paced the old barn where they held their meetings, memories flooding back of their adventures. Moments filled with laughter and danger alike. "What would Annie do?" he mused, remembering her quick wit and fierce spirit. He could almost hear Big Hank's booming voice reminding him of loyalty and courage. Yet the harsh truth of their situation weighed heavily. If he ran, they might be captured without him. In his heart, Jed knew that fleeing would only strengthen the sheriff's resolve. "I can't let my gang become pawns in this game," he declared to himself quietly. It was time to face the storm head-on. With a distinct sense of purpose swelling within him, Jed decided to gather his gang one last time to prepare for the inevitable confrontation that would define their fate in the lawless land they called home. As dusk settled over Dry Gulch, Jed and his gang gathered in the old barn, their makeshift headquarters. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and camaraderie. Weapons were pulled from dusty corners. Annie checked her revolver, ensuring it was loaded and ready, while Sam quietly sharpened his knives, a glint of determination in his eyes. Big Hank, with his powerful hands, stacked crates filled with supplies, ammunition, food, and bandages, preparing for the battle ahead. "Tonight, we fight for each other," Jed announced, standing tall despite the weight of the moment. The gang nodded in agreement, their loyalty to each other palpable. Stories of past adventures began to flow as they shared laughs and memories that reminded them of their bond. Sly Jake recounted a particularly daring escape from a rival gang that left everyone in stitches, while Annie chimed in about the time they outsmarted the sheriff's men at a nearby canyon. As they reminisced, a sense of courage filled the barn. Each story reinforced their resolve. They were not just fighting for survival but also for a way of life they believed in. With each passing moment, they fortified their spirits and prepared themselves to face whatever lay ahead, united as a family determined to stand their ground. The morning sun hung high over Dry Gulch, casting a sharp light on the dusty street where destiny awaited. The tension in the air was palpable as Sheriff Bill Thornton and his posse lined up on one side, their faces set with grim determination. On the opposite end stood Jed Hawthorne and his gang, resolute in their loyalty to each other. Both sides knew this was the moment they had been waiting for, the showdown that would determine their fates. Sheriff Thornton stepped forward, his voice cutting through the silence like a hot knife. "Jed Hawthorne, you've caused enough trouble for this town," he shouted, his hand resting near his holster. "Surrender now, and perhaps mercy will be shown." Jed squared his shoulders, peering through the glare of the sun with his one good eye, a fierce glint of defiance in his gaze. You think I'd turn myself in like some common coward? Not on your life, he retorted, gripping his revolver tightly. The townsfolk watched from windows and doorways, holding their breath as murmurs filled the air. With hearts racing and fingers itching on triggers, anticipation surged like a storm ready to break. In that electric moment, time seemed to stand still as both sides prepared for the impending clash that could change everything forever. The standoff erupted into chaos as gunfire rang out, echoing through the dusty streets of Dry Gulch. Jed's instincts kicked in, and he ducked behind a weathered barrel, his heart pounding with adrenaline. Quick draw, Annie was the first to strike, her revolver barking fiercely as she took down one of the sheriff's deputies before he could raise his weapon. The crack of her shots was met with gasps from the townsfolk, who watched in horror and awe. Meanwhile, Silent Sam darted like a shadow between buildings, using his stealth to flank the sheriff's men. He picked off another deputy, each shot precise and calculated, keeping the lawmen on edge. Big Hank, with a roar of determination, charged forward, using his massive frame to shield his comrades from incoming fire. He lifted a fallen crate and hurled it at the sheriff's position, causing confusion among the ranks. Sly Jake orchestrated their movements from behind cover, shouting commands that ensured each member of the gang worked in harmony. "We've got this. Stay sharp," he encouraged, bolstering their spirits as they fought together. The battle raged on, courage and fear intermingling in every heartbeat. The gang's loyalty to one another shone brightly as they faced their fate, knowing this was not just a fight for survival, but a fight for their very way of life. As the dust settled over the battlefield, the aftermath of the confrontation left an indelible mark on Dry Gulch. The sheriff's posse had suffered casualties, and Sheriff Thornton himself was wounded, unable to continue his relentless pursuit of the outlaws. Meanwhile, Jed Hawthorne and his gang emerged from the chaos battered but alive. They had fought fiercely for their way of life, but the battle had come with a heavy toll. In the wake of the fight, some townsfolk began to lean more towards supporting Jed. They realized that he had not only defended his gang but also represented a spirit of defiance against oppression. As they helped the injured and buried the fallen, whispers of admiration for Jed grew louder, shifting perceptions within the community. Jed and his loyal companions decided to leave Dry Gulch behind for now, knowing it would be safer for everyone. They rode off into the sunset together, hearts heavy yet hopeful. This choice solidified their bond. They were not just outlaws anymore but symbols of rebellion and friendship. For Jed and his gang, their destinies were forever changed. The risks they took strengthened their resolve to fight for freedom and justice in a world that often felt unforgiving. Their legacy would live on as tales of bravery spread far beyond Dry Gulch, inspiring future generations. In the years that followed, the legend of Jed Hawthorne grew, woven into the very fabric of the Wild West. Campfire tales told by travelers and cowboys spread his story far and wide, depicting him not just as an outlaw but as a figure of defiance and hope. Parents recounted his bravery to their children, ensuring that each new generation understood the spirit of freedom he embodied. Around flickering flames, stories emerged about Jed's daring escapes and acts of kindness, how he shared his stolen wealth with those in need and protected the weak from tyranny. Illustrations of his one-eyed gaze became symbols of resilience, inspiring countless young dreamers to stand up for what they believed in, no matter the odds they faced. As time passed, the rugged landscapes where he roamed transformed into mythical terrains filled with adventure. The dusty streets of Dry Gulch became a pilgrimage site for those seeking to understand the legacy of the one-eyed outlaw. His story united people from various walks of life, lawmen who admired his courage and outlaws who saw him as a hero. Jed Hawthorne's name echoed through history, forever etched in the hearts of those who cherished freedom and justice, ensuring that his legend would never fade away into obscurity. The journey of Jed Hawthorne, the one-eyed outlaw, serves as a timeless tale of bravery, loyalty, and the choices that shape our destinies. Through his fierce determination to protect his friends and stand against oppression, Jed became more than just an outlaw. He evolved into a symbol of hope and resilience for countless individuals who yearned for freedom in a tumultuous world. His story reminds us that courage often requires sacrifice, And true loyalty is found in standing by those we care for, even in the face of danger. As tales of his adventures spread, they inspired future generations to embrace their own struggles with valor and conviction. The spirit of camaraderie among Jed and his gang highlights the importance of unity and friendship, reinforcing the idea that together, we can confront the challenges that life throws our way. As campfire stories continue to echo through the ages, the legacy of Jed Hawthorne will forever ignite a sense of adventure in those who hear them. His journey teaches us that every choice we make has the power to influence not only our own lives, but also those of others, leaving an indelible mark on history that inspires all to fight for what they believe in.